Days of IBS Foods. Today is all about tofu, and I know I've already spoken about edamame beans, and they are related to tofu in that they are soybeans, and this is the tofu product coming out the back of the processing. But I just wanted to bring this in because some people don't realize that it is actually a low FODMAP vegan protein that can be very good for people with IBS. So tofu is a complete vegetarian protein, meaning it contains all the essential amino acids. Now, they may not be in the same proportion as you would get if you were eating an animal-based protein in terms of the presence of the essential amino acids. However, they are all in there. If you're dairy-free or you're vegan, then tofu is an excellent source of calcium if you have the firm tofu that is in a water-based solution. And calcium can be low if you're not having any milk or cheese or yogurt or anything like that. So tofu is a good source of that kind of calcium. You can also access green leafy vegetables like a bit of kale, spinach, almonds, and sesame seeds. And I know all of those things in high quantities can cause symptoms in some people who are sensitive with IBS. However, you don't have to avoid all of those. And if you are completely dairy-free or if you are vegan, then you do need multiple sources of calcium-rich foods throughout the day to get enough calcium in. So that can be low in people who are avoiding dairy or if you're plant-based. The other reason, as I mentioned with the edamame beans episode, is that some women find soy products can help with the hormonal fluctuations and menopausal symptoms like hot flushes, mood disturbances, the whole range of things that can happen to us throughout the menopause. But also we know that the isoflavones, that's like the antioxidant element of tofu, is good for your heart health. It's good for lowering cholesterol. And if you are looking to reduce your overall fat intake in terms of losing weight, or if you are looking to reduce cholesterol, then low fat quality protein from tofu is a good alternative on, a few days a week to things like red meat or especially processed meats. So soy foods, very good for us generally, and they can even improve your gut bacteria. So they've done some experiments looking at the levels of the good bacteria, the bifidobacteria, the lactobacilli. These can improve the ratio of the good bacteria to the bad bacteria when people eat more soy foods. So it could be down to the fiber content, because not only are you getting protein with tofu, but you're also getting some fiber, which is very helpful for feeding your gut bacteria. And it's something you don't get when you're only eating meat or animal sources for your protein. It could also be down to the antioxidants, because your gut bacteria really love this varied antioxidant input from all the things that I'm mentioning in this month. The gut bacteria love the different phytonutrients and antioxidants as well as the fiber content. So if you are thinking about how to increase your plant-based proteins, or you want to switch a few days out from meat, then how much tofu can you have if you've got IBS? Well, around 170 grams per meal is considered low FODMAP. If you go over that limit and you have 200 grams, for example, then you'll be hitting the fructan type of FODMAP. But 170 grams is actually a lot to have per meal. That's probably what I might have if it was for my main meal of the day. And with that amount of tofu, you could get around 20 grams of protein, maybe even more, 22 grams of protein, and you get 6 grams of fiber. So this is why I really love tofu, and I'm always trying to encourage people to eat it if you can tolerate the taste. Now, I know some people don't like it, but you may find it more tolerable if you cut it up into small chunks, soak it in some tamari or soy sauce to get some of the flavor, and then you can add things like ginger, you can add spices, like you can make it into sort of Chinese flavor, like with 5 spice and cumin. You can put it in curries and stir fries, like anywhere that you would use meat, you can use tofu. And it does need flavor. I appreciate it's very boring and bland, but it does take on the flavor of whatever you cook it with. So use those spices, use those different herbs. The last thing I wanted to say about tofu is that silken tofu is much higher in FODMAPs, and only 45 grams is high for the galacto-oligosaccharides. That's a different FODMAP to the fructans, but it's when it's strained and compressed, you will find that you don't get as much of a reaction. Where you're getting that silken loose tofu, that is much higher in FODMAPs. So if you're having things like vegan creamy desserts and those kind of things, that you may find that would cause more of a reaction. So do check which type of tofu it is if you're sensitive to GOS or fructans. Okay, join me tomorrow for another food in our 30 days of IBS foods.